we go.
How's that? Yeah. Are
Who's
we on?
that?
Yay.
Are we live?
Oh my gosh. Hello, everyone.
Hey. So, wanted to thank everybody. We've hit 1,000 followers.
I think actually as of this morning, we're at like, what does it say, 1,200 something? That's awesome.
Oh my goodness, speaking to the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. See?
Yeah, like 1,200 followers. It's insane.
That's awesome. So we're super stoked to be here with you guys live from the San Diego Zoo. And we got something pretty special in store for you. You can see on the screen, we got Marco over here. And we're at a pretty special location to show you some cool stuff, right? What else? I don't know.
We just have some really awesome animals. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves to our Twitch audience,
Yep.
everybody's here.
And
so
I'm gonna
let's
go,
get started.
I'm gonna go jump behind the camera.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Brian and I will be back later.
All right. Here you go, Kirsten.
My name is Jessica. Care specialist here at the zoo. More specifically, this here is Wegaforth Bowl, actually one of the oldest places in the zoo.
It is. People often forget about
Yeah,
that, right? How great this place
a lot
is.
of history, a lot of wildlife ambassadors will live their lives out here, so you get to get up close and personal to a bunch of them today.
Awesome. And you know, speaking of wildlife ambassadors, we have some behind us right now, guys. So let's get right into it. My name is Marco. You all know me. I'm a wildlife ambassador, but let's talk about these guys right now. I know you're thinking probably domestic dog, right? Wouldn't you think the same thing? But this is an interesting species. This is New Guinea singing dog, everyone. So I know, look at the dog species. Think about wild dogs that you know, or wild canids you know out in the wild, like wolves, for instance, or the painted dogs in Africa. I love dingoes personally, so I love the connection with this species. You know, this particular species, the New Guinea singing dog, fossil records put it back over 6,000 years. So it's pretty ancient canid species. Now, when you think about where New Guinea is, those of you who know your geography, I'm sure you can Google it and look it up, but at one point, like 6,000 years ago, there was a connection, a land connection between Australia and New Guinea. So there are theories, we don't know yet, but we don't know if possibly the New Guinea singing dog made its way down into Australia and made that subspecies a dingo, or vice versa. Or maybe dingoes made their way up to New Guinea and then created this interesting species that you find in the jungles and mountainsides of that beautiful country of New Guinea, where you have so many other amazing wildlife. You all know I'm a big bird guy, and there are cassowaries in that area as well. And interestingly enough, folks, when you look at this particular species, I mentioned that they look like a domestic dog, but they're really a wild species. So this is a hunter, yeah. And what's interesting too, with their dentition in their teeth, we can't show you today, but they have in their upper molar a very similar molar structure, similar to other wild canids like the wolf. So I really wanted to highlight that this is a predator that you're checking out. And this particular species has even been known to hunt and take down a dwarf cassowary, which is a little over 3 feet tall. And I think that's pretty exciting when you think about the nuances of predator-prey dynamics. I also wanted to highlight, while you're seeing these guys, I know I mentioned they're a wild species, but also highlighting the importance of being an animal trainer and using techniques like operant conditioning. Now, I grew up as an animal trainer at the safari park, and here you see the Wegaforth team doing such amazing work, but they are working with wild animals at the moment. And don't get me wrong, being a animal or wildlife care specialist in behavior is amazing. I mean, wouldn't you agree? Don't you love doing that?
Yeah, we get to build such great relationships with them, especially from a younger age. And these two, Piccolo and Zildjian, are brothers, and they're 12 years old. So most of us have been working with them their entire lives.
That's great, and that's really what's about you guys. It's a wild species, but you're building a bond with them as well. They're using positive reinforcement as they're showcasing all these interesting behaviors. Now, he's showing you pretty interesting behavior right now, just being aware of his surroundings, but you see that relationship they have with their trainers. And they do some really amazing jobs here with these species. Everything from the display of natural behaviors that you're seeing with the New Guinea singing dog, to maybe flying a condor over your heads doing a spectacular show, to husbandry behaviors that, for instance, doing footwork on an elephant or dental work on a lion. So operant conditioning is what I want to point out. A great training tool, a lot of skill, a lot of tool sets in that particular toolkit to do the amazing work that you're seeing right here. Now, oh, by the way, in case I didn't mention it, but New Singing Dog, they have a really interesting vocal that they do. They have a lot of varied vocals, but it's a unique howl. I can't replicate it. Some describe it like a yodel. Oh, I think I've heard it right now. Look up, do you hear that?
Anybody in the chat ask for animal noises?
Oh, hi, Opie Wolf. Oh, hey, man. Hi. Nice to see you.
Hi, Opie.
Opie, did you hear the singing right now, or the barking too, the vocalization? Some people have actually compared this. Oh, look at that. Some people have compared that very similar to actually humpback whale vocalizations as well, the kind of nuances of their vocals. So it's super unique. They have an interesting structure in their throat that allows them to do that, Opie. I don't know if you knew that, but I thought that was really cool.
If anybody would know it would definitely be Opie. He's tracking wild wolves in Italy for his
Oh,
studies. So
Opie, then you know all about it. You know, right before, I don't know if when you logged on, friend, but we were just talking about all the interesting wild canid species around the world. I'm a bird guy, but when it comes to mammals, this family is my absolute favorite. So many unique species. They're highly intelligent. This particular species, though, again, think about those rainforests and the mountainsides in New Guinea. They're oftentimes a little more solitary than social, like maybe the wolves in a wolf pack, as an example. But a really interesting species found right here at the Weggenforth area at the San Diego Zoo.
Mark,
got a question,
yeah,
Mark.
we got a really quick question.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, hi, lover. It's good to see you again. Glad you're here. So the question is from Spicy Manta Ray. How do they use those vocalizations in the wild? What do they use them
Oh,
for?
that's interesting. Now, I had a theory myself, but do you want to answer
No,
that?
go ahead.
Well, I
Say
mean,
your theory first. I'm curious.
I don't personally work. I don't personally work with these guys, but I had a theory when I was driving down here. Because again, being a cassowary guy and a vocal, the cassowary has to go through a thick rainforest habitat. My theory is being a little more solitary and living in a dense vegetated area. That very unique vocal helps it go through that thick vegetation to communicate with other individuals. Let's see if I'm right. Let's check out what the animal trainers here.
So my theory is being that they're solitary and having all those different notes kind of makes it seem like maybe there's more of them, which could help protect them from being preyed upon or some other thing. So
Yeah.
that was mine. I don't
That's
know.
I think it's a little of both, honestly, when you think about it, right, guys? You know, again, in that habitat, there's a lot of other animals they have to contend with as well, especially if you have some young. You definitely want to defend yourselves in that regard, right? It's so interesting to me, the concept of communication, and we can talk about that throughout our time with these amazing wildlife ambassadors that you're going to see here today. And when I say communication, right now we're talking about auditory, right? Like the singing or the barking that you're hearing now. But communication could be a lot of different things. It could be body posture. It could be scent, which we'll talk about a little later with other species. So it's really unique, the different ways of communication animals do. And by the way, the training that you see, in my opinion, it's a great way for a human being like us to communicate with wild animals like you see today. And even though you see what might be considered more domestic kind of similarities to maybe your domestic dog, just still remember this is a wild animal, and this is why we do the amazing work that we do here. We have trained specialists, wildlife care specialists in behavior to do this amazing work, guys. And I'm sure a lot of you are probably maybe wanting to do this when you get older, and I ain't gonna lie to you, it is the best job in the world. I highly, highly recommend it. Being in a behavior setting as a wildlife care specialist at the Zoo Safari Park, there's nothing better than that. So it's just been great to be able to highlight all these amazing species here. They're doing so
Do
good.
you have any other questions yet?
Yeah, thank you guys.
I think they're gonna head off maybe.
You
Yeah.
guys, let's give them some virtual applause out there. Thank you for coming. Thanks, guys. All right. Now, think about where we were at. We're traveling all over the world, right, guys? So in your heads, we were just in that beautiful country of New Guinea, north of Australia. It's mountainy. There's jungle everywhere. But now we're going to hop on that virtual plane, and we're leaving New Guinea. Now we're flying into an island, and not just any island, a really unique island found off of the coast of Africa. I am sure some of you have heard of Madagascar before, really unique species like the fossa, or the fossa, however you pronounce it, or a lemur, but there's other really unique animals too. So guys, let's get a little closer here and show you a very unique animal. First, we're gonna get a little closer to the camera here. Can you remind me his name or her name?
Yeah, this is Ovi Chip.
Ovi Chip. Okay, so this is Ovi Chip. And take a look really quick. Now, I'm sure people are putting down your guesses. Maybe you're not sure what it is. Maybe you're thinking hedgehog. And that's a pretty good guess, but it's not a hedgehog. This is called a lesser hedgehog tenrec. Now, I know that's super confusing, but let me explain a few things. So there's about 30 species, I'm not mistaken, of tenrec found in the island of Madagascar. 2 of the 30-something species of tenrec have the word hedgehog in their name, like the greater hedgehog tenrec and the lesser hedgehog tenrec like we're looking at right now. but they're not the same species, completely different animals. Your hedgehogs you can find in Europe and North America as an example. This guy though, you're gonna find in Madagascar. Now, if you look at him, he's got some similar adaptations that the hedgehog would do as well, or a porcupine. You guys see those quills out there? Look at those. Maybe you're thinking of a porcupine too, right? Or maybe you're thinking of a hedgehog. Now, like the porcupine or the hedgehog, they're used for defense. So this little guy, he's cruising around in the deciduous forest. So it's a pretty funny word, deciduous. So just think about those trees that turn color during the seasons. So in I believe the western half of Madagascar, you have these deciduous forests, and this is where you're gonna find this species. I mentioned there's 30 different species of tenrec out there, and they have adapted for so many different environments. You have an aquatic tenrec as an example. The largest tenrec is about the size of a rabbit, which is a pretty big tenrec when you think about that, right? And think about an animal with those spikes. So this guy's known for a predator. If a predator comes by, what's going to be a predator for a tenrec? Like ovichip over here? Well, think about Africa. We sniffing the camera,
He
sniffing
wants
you
to
guys
dig
out.
into the camera.
Think about Africa and those animals out there. So maybe you're thinking about maybe a snake. A snake would be a very good predator, or not a good predator, not that they would appreciate it, but that would be a predator for a tenrec. A bird
Everybody's
of prey.
gotta eat,
Everyone's
you know?
gotta eat. No, you're absolutely right. And also an animal called a fusa, right? That's a pretty unique species.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what can you tell our friends here? What do these guys do when they maybe encounter a predator like a fusa?
Oh, so they definitely want to roll up in a ball.
Right? Tiny
Yeah.
ball, right?
Because they want to use those quills to their advantage for
exactly,
sure. Yes.
definitely. Well, you know, some people have asked me a lot, like porcupines. Do porcupines shoot their quills? So I got to ask you, what about this guy? Does he shoot his quills?
Question for the
Question. Yeah.
Oh.
Spicy Man Ray wants to know, are tenrecs nocturnal like hedgehogs?
Ah, that's a very good question. In general, yes. Most will be found a little more nocturnal hours, but that changes all the time. You know, in nature, sometimes there's not a lot of definites, right?
Yeah.
And one point in history, one animal may have been nocturnal, maybe adapted itself to the environment. Not to bring the mood a little bit down, but you know, climate change is a real thing, and it's affecting animals all over the world. These guys go through something called torpor. So think about a bear hibernating as an example. Torpor is sort of like a lesser version, version of that. So during very dry, very cool, dry winters in Madagascar, these guys go into their burrows or maybe a little cavity in a tree, and they basically lower their metabolism down, burn very few calories, very similar to hibernation, but that will enable them to survive during those long, dry, and cooler winters out there. They're so good at torpor, you guys. They can go even into a day torpor. So let's say we're out in Madagascar and it's a wicked hot day and they need to reserve their resources, then they'll go into this deep state called torpor.
Climbing today. Yeah, you're excellent
Oh
at
no,
climbing.
he's checking stuff out. But don't worry guys, we're gonna get him going because you know, these guys are so good at sniffing.
Here we go. We're just gonna
And
get you on this.
when we get him situated here, you can see how good they are at climbing, right? Now, the aquatic tenrec.
You're just all about it
the
today.
aquatic tenrec here will have web feet. This guy has really tiny claws. You can see as we're showing you right now while they're climbing about to do that. Very, very powerful little toes.
Hi, bud.
They can actually use their back legs to hold on as well. But really unique, right? And super quick. I never realized how quick
I know,
they could
he's
be.
picking up the speed.
I
Definitely
know.
not in torpor
and he's
today.
Sniffing around. No torpor today for this guy. And you know what, guys? Think about the communication aspect we talked about earlier, right? I mean, the New Guinea singing dog with the howl. That was a bad interpretation, but you got it right, you know? That was their kind of way of communicating in that thick vegetated rainforest. These guys, well, for one, they're not as communal as maybe a meerkat would be. So instead of an auditory or a howl, this is more of a smell that they communicate. So they will actually mark things around their territory. Like right now, maybe he wants to mark his little bark there.
It actually smells kind of like a tortilla chip.
What? Like a tortilla
A fun
chip?
fact.
Oh, I didn't
That's
know that.
why ovi is, well, ovi chip means potato chip, but it's a little bit more on the tortilla chip side, if you want to get more specific.
Oh, that's interesting. I had no idea. All right, so that was little Ovi, you guys. Such an interesting species.
He wants to go today, so
man,
I think we should move on
We
to
do
the
have other
next
friends
guy.
to see. So guys, we're gonna shift things a little bit here. And actually, we're gonna come over here because you guys, we were traveling around the world, right, guys? So we were in, where were we? We were in New Guinea, right? In New Guinea, yeah. Brian almost just I'm watching him. He doesn't. We don't want Brian to fall over here. So guys, we were in New Guinea. Yeah, he's doing okay. We flew over to Madagascar, right? Now we're getting back on that plane and we're going to the woods of Europe, and you're gonna meet the largest owl species in the world. We're gonna cruise over here and tell you. Yeah, I'm gonna walk over this way here. Brian, watch your step.
Watch the vines. It's
Watch
a
the vines.
living jungle over here.
Perfect, guys. So as Brian is good and getting that visual for you, let's talk about what we're seeing here. So this is called a Eurasian eagle owl. You guys, owls are amazing, right? So many unique species found around the world. The great horned owl, the barn owl, the great gray owl, Brian's favorite in North America. But eagle owl, a lot of times with birds, you can tell what they're about by their name, right? So for instance, Eurasian eagle owl, the word eagle references their size. Largest owls in the world are eagle owls, found in Europe, found in Asia, found in Africa. They vary in color and in size. The African species, Varroa, or the milky eagle owl, is a dark gray color, mainly strictly nocturnal. This guy is found in Europe and Asia. Look how his color is very different, not the milky gray color that I was referring to. This guy is blending in very well to what would be a tree, possibly, right? Or some bark in the background or foliage in Europe and in Asia. And there's also other owls like in Asia as well. The Blackinson's eagle owl is the largest of all of them out there. So really unique species. Let's highlight some of the unique adaptations that we get asked a lot about the owls. One, why is he up during the day? I mentioned the milky eagle owl generally being nocturnal. Owls here are perfectly designed for hunting during the day, but you know, they're a stealth hunter. They want to surprise their food, so it's easier to do that under the cover of darkness. Some owls, like the great horn, and this guy in particular as well, it's a word called crepuscular. So think about when the sun is going up. Oh, we have a question? Oh, what's the question?
He wants to know, can they twist their head all the way
Oh, I love
That's
that
a really good one. Do
question.
you want to answer
Yeah,
this one? Go
sure.
for it. Go for it.
So it's not quite all the way around, but it's about 3/4 of the way, which is a lot more than what my neck can
Totally.
do. And the way that they can actually do that is they have twice as many vertebrae in their neck than us mammals.
Exactly.
So everything from small mice to giraffes have 7 vertebrae in their neck, and they have 14. And so this allows them to actually kind of do a really cool corkscrew-esque maneuverability with their neck. And the reason why they need to do that is because their eyes are actually fixed in their head. Not sure if you said that already.
No,
Marco.
go for it. No, that's what I was going to follow with the eyes. No, you can talk about it if you like. Yeah.
So their eyes, probably one of the first things you noticed when she came out here was her big, beautiful eyes. They have ginormous eyeballs. And this is actually only 1/3 of her eyeball that you can actually see. They're kind of like shaped like an old school light bulb. So the bigger part is in her head. And this allows them to have excellent vision, especially far-sighted vision. And so that's why they actually can't move them side to side or up and down. So they adapted to have that different neck structure so that they can do that.
That's awesome, right? So many you guys, I bet we can talk forever about owls.
Yes.
I mean, even the facial disc, right, to focus sound. I mean, they got incredible hearing as well. Silent flight. So basically, everything about them is from stealth, the top of the head down. I mean, even those little ear tufts, and by that I mean those little feathers poking out on the top of his head. You guys see that? Those are sometimes referred to as ear tufts, but it's kind of confusing because they're not ears, they're just feathers. But why do they have that, right? There's some hypotheses why. The great horned owl, the eagle owl, the Eurasian eagle owl, I should say, they have those, and a theory is it helps break up the outline. So let's say, what was this guy's name again?
This is Einstein.
Einstein.
I didn't even introduce
Oh, no,
her.
my bad. No, everyone meet Einstein. Now, picture if Einstein was in a tree in the wild with conifer trees behind him blending in. The theory is that those ear tufts might help break up the outline of the owl to blend in a little bit in the backdrop. I've also seen them use those ear tufts for communication between each other as well. Now, also, I mentioned silent flight. So it's hard to tell on the camera here, so I use my hands as an example really quick. So most birds have strong flight feathers, so when they flap their wings, they're propelling a lot of wind, they fly faster. On the first 3 or 4 primary feathers on the owl's wings, they're fringed. So this is my flight feather, the first one. Picture little ridges or comb teeth at the end. So if you look, and when I'm flapping, wind is going through my feathers faster than a hawk or an eagle or a falcon. So they don't fly as fast, but it silences the flight. It's called microturbulence. So basically Einstein, that was another owl I worked in the past. Sorry, buddy, sorry. But snaps for Beethoven, he was an amazing bird. But Einstein here, if Einstein is waiting in his perch, You know, you might see owls, you know, bob their head a little bit like, let's do it together. Let's get on the camera here. Bob their head a little bit like this. So basically they're triangulating the sound. A mouse yards away has ruffled some leaves. Einstein can hear that sound. What he's going to do then, open up those wings and go into a straight glide. If he has to flop, again, the microturbulence silences the flight, and then he can capture his prey. And by capturing the prey, I kind of want to point out those talons really quick. And also, I want to highlight one other little training technique we use. It's called falconry techniques we use for raptors. And I can talk about that forever, but he is a predator, which is why we're using these techniques on him. But I wanted to highlight this talons here. Raptors are my favorite favorite animals on the planet, honestly, are raptors for me. Eagles, hawks, falcons, owls, merlins, kites, kestrels, etc. Secretary birds. What makes raptors raptors is the feet. It means to seize or to grasp with your talons. So generally a raptor foot is 3 toes forward and 1 toe in the back. The hallux is the one they use to take care of their prey. Now owls have an interesting adaptation. They're on a branch most of the time, as opposed to maybe an eagle, like a bald eagle flying throughout the day, or an osprey off the coast of San Diego. These guys are sitting on that branch. So like a parrot, think about a parrot foot, 2 toes in the front, 2 in the back. The fancy word is a zygodactylus foot. It's a perching foot. It supports the weight of a bird for really long periods of time. This guy, he's sitting on that perch just as long as a parrot. So they have that adaptation, that perching structure. But what's really rad is when they can grab their prey, that outer talon from the back can actually rotate forward. It doesn't happen all the time, but he has that adaptation as well. And with a great horn, you can really see it. But they're really unique, folks. So when you think about the secretary bird, or the eagle, or the owl, or the falcon, know that they're classified for the raptor, right? The toes, the feet, the hooked beak, but they're not related. An owl's in their own family, hawks in their own family, falcons, osprey, secretary bird, they're in their own different families, but they're classified together because of that structure, the hooked beak that I talked about, but mainly those feet. And they're pretty awesome. Now I'm checking with the team because I can keep going about owls because they're just amazing. What do you think?
It's time for the best animal of all time.
The star of the show.
Yes. Okay, we're back on the travel thing, right? So we just left. I will turn over here. We just left. We left Europe, right? We left
We're a
Europe.
little bit
Now
obsessed.
we're
Just a little.
leaving Europe, and you guys let me know where we can position ourselves where
we
you need
can
us
start
to.
making over
You're good?
an
Yeah, we're
hour.
good. Oh,
Yeah,
okay, perfect.
yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do this way. Now I said we're leaving Europe, everyone, and now we're going to the United States. Come follow me. Welcome to North America, everyone. Oh, life is good. The weather in San Diego is great. Look what we found.
The
What did
best
we just
animal
find?
in the world.
What is this thing?
This here is Jeffrey.
Oh,
And
Jeffrey.
he is a Virginia opossum.
Jeffrey.
He's very famous here at the San Diego Zoo.
Yeah, go for it. You want to tell us some more about Jeffrey here?
So Jeffrey, as I said, he's a Virginia opossum, and he is 2.5 years old, which, if you did not know, that is pretty old for opossums. Actually, he's a lot older than a lot of the average that live out there.
He's doing
Usually,
good.
old guy is probably 2 years old. So I like to say that we have a great retirement program here
I
at
think
the
so.
zoo.
I think you do.
Free healthcare, dental, the works. So he is very well taken care of. Look at this lovely charcuterie board.
I love
that
it.
was made for him and by his wildlife care specialist. So
I may hold back the mealworms for me, but the other
the
may.
mealworms, not so much. I might want to cook my meat a little bit, but that's okay.
Oh, no.
But we got some egg
Yeah.
on here.
Oh, yeah.
We've got some cantaloupe.
It makes me think of the word omnivorous, right? For
Oh,
our
yeah,
guests, right? Carnivore, herbivore. If
Yeah.
you're not familiar, an animal that can eat a variety of different things, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, 50 teeth on this guy.
Yes,
I had found out
yes.
it's more teeth than any mammal in North America. Now, the main thing I want to talk about is why do people don't like these guys? Why is there so bad opinion? They're awesome.
They get a very bad rap.
Yeah, right?
But honestly, they are so important. People just don't really know a lot about them.
I know.
But they're extremely important for ecosystems. They do so many things. They're in charge of pest control. They're kind of like, I like to say, nature's cleanup crew.
Oh,
Or
totally.
like the garbage men.
Oh,
You
yeah,
need
you know,
them.
because
Yeah.
I'm a big vulture guy,
Yeah,
and
see,
I talk
there you
about the
go.
recyclers,
Yeah.
but people kind of forget that these guys are part of that team as well, right? They're
Yeah.
helping us out with carrion
Yeah,
as well, or
yeah.
animals that have passed on, and we need other animals to eat those animals up so we
Yeah.
don't have diseases
Yeah,
around the world, right?
exactly.
I mean, something happened a few years ago, I don't know what it was, but it'd be great to have animals like this maintaining carcasses so we don't
Right.
have diseases affecting human beings. So how great that we have a marsupial, right? I think people
Yes.
kind of forget about that, guys. Everyone's thinking maybe the possums, right, in Australia. I know it's so confusing. Human beings muck things up all the time with names, but let me just clarify this a little bit. So we have the opossum with the O, right, here in the North American region. Only marsupial in North America is the Virginia opossum, but we have more possums. I think over 100, I believe, possum species, opossum species, marsupials in North America. But that's separate than the ones in Australia. Think about all those possum species. It was just a confusion with people traveling and identifying certain animals that look similar and tried to group them together. Oh, we have a question, Taylor?
Opie's asking, are they considered a keystone species?
Oh, you know what? It's not. Most people would say no. I say yes.
Yeah,
And
same here. I second that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I would agree. So you know why? I mean, one, we talked about diseases that can be run rampant if we don't have animals like our scavengers, like the opossum here or vulture, to maintain all that. There's another animal that. I'm not the biggest fan, but I know their importance in the ecosystem are ticks. I know what you're gonna say. They're kind of gross.
Yeah.
We don't want them on us, and I get that. But every animal has a part to play in an ecosystem. I always say a healthy ecosystem is a diversity of plants and animals. And it includes all kinds of animals, from a cheetah to a gorilla, to a cockatoo, to an opossum, to even a tick and a flea, everyone, even the mosquito. But if you're not a fan of ticks, I get it. So I bring it up because these guys love eating ticks. Hundreds and hundreds of ticks a
Absolute
year, right?
favorite.
So many ticks in a year. So if you have these in your garden, leave them alone. They're not going to mess with you. They're not going to affect your wildlife, or maybe you have pets in a negative way. They're just doing their thing. They're just helping out the wild tick population. Yes?
Are they immune to like snake bites?
Ooh, that's another, yeah, there's a lot of cool facts, you guys, and that's the other one. So they're basically immune to bites of, I wouldn't say 100%, but very strong resistance to rattlesnake, cottonmouth as an example, all those pit vipers found in North America. I mean, these guys got superpowers. I mean, I'm a Marvel fan, right?
Yeah,
I love me
right?
some Thor all the time, or Captain Marvel, but you want to talk about real superpowers, this is a superpower too. And they're just great, again. Oh, the other myth, I think we should talk about playing dead, playing possum. Yeah, you want to tell our guests about that? Tell me about it.
Yeah, hopefully you've heard of playing possum or playing dead. Now this is something really crucial to their survival. If something spooks them or they see a predator coming along, they literally go into this involuntary response where they flip over on their side. Even their tongue will hang out, and then they actually give off this really disgusting smell to hopefully make the predators think that they're already passed away.
Oh no.
Their heart rate slows down, breathing slows down, and this can last anywhere from 30 minutes to a couple hours.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So if you find one like that maybe in your yard, give it a little bit before calling the right right organizations.
She's right
Just
on the
in
money.
case.
Right on the money, guys. Yeah, just leave them alone. Leave them in a quiet space, a good exit strategy. Give them even a few hours if they need it, and they're going to be absolutely fine. And again, being a marsupial, such unique adaptations. What's a marsupial, right? They basically, it's an interesting way of producing where they carry their young in a pouch area. Marsupials do it for different reasons. These guys are arboreal. They can be up in the trees. They can be on the ground. But basically, mom will give birth to, I think it's about 20 different babies. Now there's 13 teats on the female though, so it's a competition. Once those babies are born, everyone's vibing. So you guys remember, like in the 70s, that song of the Olympics, ba 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 ba. So that's kind of what I picture. All these little hairless babies climbing up. Ba, ba,
But
ba,
the size
ba,
of what?
ba.
They're like the size of
They're
Rice
super tiny,
Krispies.
little jelly beans.
Yeah, little jelly beans. Yep.
Climbing up, trying to get into the pouch, and then again, only 13. So those that get it, they're gonna survive. They're gonna do great. And it just shows you that competition. Now they're gonna grow inside of mama's pouch. This is a male, by the way, so not a female, but you can use your imagination. And then when they come out of the mama's pouch, they'll start climbing on mom, and mom will cruise them around for a bit. Until they start veering off into their own habitats. But again, folks, just wanted to highlight the things you're probably thinking about. Just pass it along to your parents in particular, right? Because my mom, admittedly, sorry to call you out, mom, but she is not a opossum fan. But I tell her every day, you're gonna be fine, mom. They're gonna leave you alone. I think she believes me now, but maybe you guys can help us out with that. Miscommunication, the misunderstanding of opossums and how important these animals really are. And while they're working him out, he's an older guy.
Yes.
And with that, I also wanted to highlight the wildlife care that we do here with all these species. So whether it be a Virginia opossum, African elephant, and a more leopard as an example. We pride ourselves with the wildlife care that we do. Oh, we got another question?
Spicy Manta Ray is wondering, how do they use? Why would you do this to me? How do they use their tails? Do they use their
Oh
tails
yeah,
when they're
yeah,
naked, right?
exactly. Yeah, so it's a bear tail, right? That's a good observation. Now I mentioned they're arboreal as well, so it's sort of like semi-prehensile. So it'll help them maneuver. So by semi, I mean like it does pretty good to grab on a branch possibly and help maneuver along a branch line, but it's not super strong. They're not going to be hanging upside down for a long period of time. I think I remember cartoons as a kid. Do you remember those?
Oh,
where
gosh,
they're hanging
yeah.
upside down?
Mom and then all the kids right
Yeah,
next to them.
not so much with the hanging upside down, but you know what? Now that I'm thinking about hanging upside down, I think we're going to leave North America and go to an upside down animal. I think you know where we're going to go, guys. Let's go over here and
Yeah.
check this out. Ooh, I'm excited. Is Brian going to fall in the pool? That's a question. That's a question. All right, we're good.
There you
I'll be
go.
right here.
He'll make it
He's going to
there.
make his time. We're going to clock him, guys. It's going to be wicked fast. So make sure you don't blink and just time it because he's going to be zooming by here. But I'm going to walk a little closer. You stay there. I'm going to show you some stuff, guys. So we talked about the Virginia opossum not hanging upside down like this guy can do. Look at these adaptations. So by the way, you're looking at a two-toed sloth. His name is Tornero or Tornero, however you want to say it. But I roll my R's, you know, got to represent the culture. But this guy, he's found in my favorite ecosystems on the planet, the rainforest. Love me some rainforest. I am a huge fan of Costa Rica, and the first animal that I encountered in the wild was a sloth, and it just took my breath away. My husband and I spotted him during our honeymoon, and it was the best experience because these animals, they just make you smile, don't they? I can see all your smiles in front of the camera there. Even all the crew right now are smiling. Even the ambassadors, the team who work with Tornero is smiling. So as we're cruising around here, Tornero is perfectly adapted for hanging upside down. You guys, how do they do this? This is a big animal, right?
That
You want
is
something
sweet.
weird? Something weird I learned about these guys? It's only about 25% of their body weight is muscle. Most mammals are at least double that. So think about that. It makes them incredibly lightweight for their size, and they need that when these guys spend most of the time up in treetops. They can actually access certain leaves out in the wild. Now, there's an interesting tree that they'll go out, usually in Costa Rica in particular, and once they start eating, they go up to the top of the tree, and then it almost looks like they're sunbathing, like here in San Diego. But what's happening is their gut. So one, while he's gonna eat something, possibly in a second, watch him take a bite. Oh, and by the way, look at those canines I want to point out. Most people think of sloths as cute and cuddly, but a sloth needs to defend himself against a harpy eagle or a jaguar, or maybe even a human being if they're being harassed. So I just wanted to point that out there, you guys. You're looking at wild animals, not the sloths you see on TV. He's got very powerful canines, and he's very capable of defending himself. But while he's eating, I wanted to say this guy, very slow. Everything about them is slow. They process food wicked slow. The sun actually will help warm the belly and create bacteria. You know, my favorite thing about sloths is the idea of diversity and ecosystems. Now, I know you're thinking ecosystem like rainforest. No, I'm talking ecosystem like what he is an ecosystem in his own right. There's communities of organisms that will live in the body of a sloth. They are amazing. Not only unique species, not only makes you smile, but they're homes for a lot of interesting organisms that can live. What's unique about it here is when you're looking at the fur looks really thick. Now it's thick, helps repel a lot of the water out in the rainforest habitat, but if you were gonna look in a microscope, the hair actually has little grooves in it. Why would they have grooves in it? For algae. What do you think? Why would algae be beneficial? Do you have an idea?
Oh, hey, that is a great resource.
I mean, people ask me that all the time.
Nutrients, just saying.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I think so. And the other one I've noticed too out in the wild with these guys is during the season, a rainy season, algae would turn a green color, helps them blend into that environment. And in the drier season, the algae starts dying off a little bit and turns to more the brown drab color. Not drab, brown is a beautiful color, but it does help them blend into that dry habitat, guys. There's so many organisms, moth species, insects, smaller even organisms that live all over the body of the sloth that we're still learning a lot about this particular species. Now, let's talk about some of the main adaptations. So they're hanging upside down for one. How do they do that? Well, look at those toes, right? A two-toed sloth. You see the two nails or the claws up on the top there, which again are great for defending itself as well. I'm sure you can tell what the difference would be with a three-toed sloth. I'm pretty sure you can figure that one out. But in the back, you're right. You got it, Kristen. That's three. That's right. You
Great
see, but they both species have the three in the back, right? But they're great, you guys. Now, even defecating can be an ordeal because normally they're living up in the treetops, right? So how do they go to the bathroom? Well, they got to climb down the tree, right? What, about a week or two?
Yeah, 10 to
that?
14 days.
Can you imagine that? That's
Tornado's a little bit more regular here.
Good for you. So am I. That's great. That's wonderful.
4 to 7 here.
All right,
if you want to
okay.
get a little bit of
Yeah, I
TMI.
mean, being in a zoo environment, we're all fans of poop for a lot of different reasons, right? And it's important for us to survive. We can learn a lot from it as well. These particular guys will actually not do it on the top of a tree. They'll actually come down the big trunk of the tree and then all the way down to the ground, and then right at the base of the tree, they'll plop their little the little poop right at the base.
They usually do like a little poop dance.
Oh, they do a poop dance?
Yeah.
Can you demonstrate the poop dance? You brought it up.
Well, I mean,
Now I gotta
you
see it.
basically just hold on to something
Okay.
and do a little wiggle.
Oh, a little shimmy?
A little shimmy.
A little shimmy. That is the
You need
sloth
to get it
shimmy.
moving. So, especially when you've been
It's gonna be
sleeping
a
for
meme,
like
I think.
20 hours. I know.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Oh, that's another good point too. We're talking about the slower metabolism, sleeping like 15 to 20 hours. Now, I know I mentioned it, but I love going down to Costa Rica a lot, Central America, and I see them kind of active during the early morning, but midday, middle of the day, they're sleeping. But at night is when they're most active, where I see a lot of activity for these guys. Yeah, being nocturnal, it's kind of surprising how many animals are awake and moving about in the nighttime hours in the rainforest. I remember seeing blue morpho, butterflies, fur-de-lance, it's a type of snake out there which you definitely want to keep away from. But these in particular, sugar babies, a lot of cool animals in the nighttime hours of those rainforests. You guys hear the crunching, by the way? Maybe we can get a little. Can you hear it? I love it. That's a good crunch. But he's doing great. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Oh, look at that, you guys. While we're hanging out with Tornado, I wanted to point something out as well. Now, the concept of having wildlife ambassadors is really important, in my opinion, in our zoological settings. I know you guys are aware, but I gotta say, we're San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance. We have 8 conservation hubs around our planet Earth, but I don't want people to forget about the San Diego Zoo and the Safari Park. Yes, it's very important to talk about the work we do globally, but this particular moment, I think it's really important to highlight the behavior teams here at the Safari Park. That's my home base where I grew up, in behavior, being an animal trainer. Now we say a wildlife care specialist, behavior specialist, but the team you're seeing today, these guys do really amazing work. This training techniques we're referring to, it helps us communicate with these animals, and not in the way that you and I are doing now, but for showcasing natural behaviors as an example. I mean, what's the difference between me maybe just on camera talking about a sloth versus what we're doing right now? And you get to see, you get to hear him crunching on that food. So creating these experiences is really what's going to inspire everyone in the world to really make that extra effort. And how do you make that extra effort? Support your local zoos and aquariums, which you guys are doing right now by joining us on Twitch Live, which is awesome. Super appreciate the base that we've created here. So big thank yous. Big, I say abrazotes, big giant hugs. Thank you so much for your support. And also, if you can, visit us, of course, here in San Diego. Even if you can't, though, you're supporting us like you're doing today. But also, if you're around the world, I say support your own local zoo and aquarium, accredited zoo and aquarium, because this is, in my opinion, one of the last refuges for a lot of different species out there. The world's becoming a smaller and smaller place, and it's so great that we have wildlife ambassadors like Tornado here, who's going into a little nap, just to inspire you guys about, to inspire you guys about Mother Nature. But it's really great to highlight, and just to show you how amazing these wildlife ambassadors are. Not only do our sloth ambassadors help inspire you about the joys of Mother Nature and this particular species, but they're also helping in breeding efforts as well. Now, certain species are doing pretty good out in the world, but I'm sure habitat fragmentation is a big deal, and that's something that's affecting these animals as well as other species around Central and South America. But I think as long as we educate ourselves, we support organizations like San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance, I think there's definitely hope for the future, you guys. And I know we're showing you all these amazing behaviors. I don't think I want to hand it to you that way. I think I'm going to wait. We're going to distract. Look at this guy. Yeah, you know. Try to keep it PC. But I appreciate it. But no, he's doing really good, guys. Yes, Taylor.
So sloths hang.
Yeah.
They sleep a lot. Why are you doing this to me? They want to know, do they sleep hanging like that? And if so, how? Because like if I fall asleep, my hand's gonna let go. So how
Yeah.
does it work?
I mean, the ones I've seen, usually you tuck yourself and you wedge yourself between a branch or whatnot. So, I mean, at times I've seen some, like we had seen with Tornado here in a little bit, where he's just munching and maybe he goes off in a little nap for like a few seconds and wakes up. So I've seen those versions, but really when they're hardcore asleep, think of like a fork in a tree. They just kind of wedge themselves in there and just sleep and tuck themselves in for the rest of the day. And I think it's just the cutest thing when you see it out in the wild. Now, the smiling faces, again, it really connects you with wildlife out there, of course. Now, this guy represents one of the conservation hubs that we have around the world. There's 8 total. For instance, there's Amazonia, which is where Tornado can be found in Central and South America. My personal favorite one is Amazonia, but also the Southwest, which is right here in our portions of California and Baja, Mexico as well. Really unique wildlife found in our own backyard that people often forget about, like the Virginia opossum as an example, or the mountain lion, or my personal favorite, the California condor. But we do work even with the platypus in Australia, the Asiatic black bear in the Asian rainforest, even the oceans, folks, protecting animals like the penguin, and the importance of water quality for all of us, not just wildlife, but for human beings around the world as well. And I can keep talking about conservation. Are there any other questions I can answer during our time here for everyone joining us today? Just want to make sure.
Like when I'm looking at them,
Yeah.
they're really soft, but they're not.
No, they're kind of coarse. In fact, you know, I love dogs. I forget the Irish.
Irish
There's
setter?
is the Irish setter with the coarse fur. There's a species. We'll figure it out, guys. There's a species of
Or the wolfhound. The
wolfhound. Thank
is-
you. The
I think
Irish
that's
wolfhound.
more-
That's what I'm
yeah,
thinking
I
of.
think-
If
yeah.
you guys ever get the opportunity, that coarse fur of an Irish wolfhound or a similar breed feels very similar to what a sloth would feel like. So I don't recommend trying to reach out and make a connection with a sloth, but an Irish setter, or I mean an Irish wolfhound would be just fine. But make sure you ask your owner, of course.
Yeah.
So and we can still see him moving about here, doing really good, guys. And hanging upside down. Look at his hair too. That's a unique adaptation for the sloth. It's the only animal really where you see the hair growing in the opposite way. Now, what do you mean by the opposite way? Well, you know, my hair, if it grew really long, right, buddy? It would go this way. But now with Tornado here, I mean, look where his hair's parting. Parts from the middle, right? Do you want to show him the belly? Middle, and just go this way.
Gotta aim
There we
that
go.
way.
Ooh, some jicama. Ooh, I love me some jicama, you know. I know. Being Latino, I definitely appreciate the jicama, and he does as well. But while he's eating, guys, look at the hair. Look how it's going right now. See the growth from the belly is apart, and it grows this way. So it's growing in the way that he lives, which is literally upside down. And not only the hair, the organs too, believe it or not. So his organs are positioned in different parts of the body. I don't have any more snackies. I'm sorry. Maybe you can help him out.
I think he just wants to show off.
I
his,
know, right? Look at me.
awesome
Look what I
abs
can
right
do.
There. Look at
Fine,
that.
I get it. All right. The sloth workout for 2023.
Yes.
Oh, but I was just mentioning, folks, that the organs in the body are positioned in different ways too, because again, they're living their whole lives upside down, and that includes the young as well. So mom will give birth. Well, actually, let's go back. Let's talk about the romantic life of the sloth. This is a solitary animal. So they're spending most of their times by themselves. But what happens during that, the love life of a sloth? Well, you know, the female will let out this beautiful melodious scream, basically.
I was gonna say, oh wow, we're describing
I know.
it as beautiful.
I was trying to make it sound
Don't
pretty, but you
describe it
know,
that way.
you know what? I always say every mom loves a certain animal. You know, every sound is unique. And even the female sloth sound is unique as well. She makes that call, she attracts the male. Yeah, do you have another question?
I think we have one more question.
Okay.
And then we're probably going to start wrapping it
Okay,
up. So,
okay.
I'm trying to read the names, but it's hard. Blake wants to know, so when humans are upside down, blood rushes to our heads.
Right.
Does this not happen to sloths?
Exactly, Blake. Yeah, so there's mechanisms happening in the body. The organ description I gave you is the best reference. Their entire internal system is built for living upside down, which is, again, like you were saying, we could not survive that way, but it works great with an animal. Another one I like to point out is like the peregrine falcon diving at 200 miles per hour and doing a turn. A fighter pilot could not do that. They'd black out. But these animals are just perfectly adapted for their environment and for their behavior and the world that they live in. So that was an awesome question. Yeah, and guys, it was amazing, right? It's so much.
Yeah,
What did we
that
see?
was a lot of fun.
New Guinea
see-
singing dogs.
We got the lesser hedgehog,
Tenrec-
tenrec,
oh, the owl,
the owl,
the opossum,
opossum.
The sloth here, guys. You
Yeah.
saw a plethora, and we traveled all over the world, and we had such a good time with us at the Alliance family here at the San Diego Zoo, the Wegaforth team. So big thank you to the Wegaforth
Woo!
team for doing that.
We love it. We love it.
Awesome, and you guys, you can say hi to them too, right? When's your shows?
2 o'clock.
2
Wildlife
o'clock.
Wonders every day. Gates open at 1:40.
That's right.